Welcome back to Rue's Voice. So obviously this is a whole new setup. I just moved to my room, so it's more convenient. Um, and I obviously haven't recorded in like a long time, like at least 5 months, probably like six, maybe seven. Right. So it's been a while, of course. Um, I'm gonna definitely get back more into like the flow of regular content in terms of like what I post, like certain the same way I was doing it before, like emotional intelligence, stuff like that, like those kind of videos. I'll do that for this one. That's gonna be like a story time. So, like, if you prefer just to watch the content, I'll probably have that posted at some other point, maybe like later on. Maybe I might post at the same time, might like delay it by a day or two. But I figure like since it's been a while, I'm gonna it makes more sense just kind of fill people in on more stuff. Plus, the situation does still pertain to the channel itself. Um, and I was kind of like deep dive into that for my own sake and for like just kind of people that find themselves in those situations as well. So more of like the reason why I feel more confident as well. Speaking of like a lot of relationships, is I've been in like a fair share of mine as well, and I've also like heard a lot of things from like other people's experiences, and just kind of always get my kind of intake, or always kind of like listen to what they have to offer, or vice versa. Maybe there's something I think they could tell me to help me improve how I navigate my own love life, or just friendships, and just so on and so forth. So most recently, the reason why I want to kind of deep dive into like a little story time is because like I feel like it does pertain to the future videos I'm gonna put out there, and just kind of like share my experiences with people that might end up in the same boat, or just like get kind of more of a advice to help me go on to where I want to be in the future. But essentially, I was with a person, and we're together for like a good amount of time. Longest I've been in a relationship as of recent. Like I've dated people in the past, of course. A few people in high school, a few people maybe before high school. I don't really count those prior high school relationships as because like we're like 12 years old, so that's not something where you look back on and be like, maybe that could be my future wife. No, we're not gonna do that. But in high school, I dated probably like four people. They relatively someone per year, you could say that. Um, but there was one person I dated from like I think like early junior year, and that carried on past high school. So like it had more to me, it had more meaning, had a lot more experiences, of course, you could say, and something I would have hoped lasted longer. And it's kind of the dynamic of that relationship was pretty odd, to be honest. Um, I feel like in the majority of my relationships, I played a very naive role, you could say as well, where I'm just like, I don't know, like I guess you could say I pour more out than they do in return, which is already like a not a good sign, you could say. And the thing is, I'm very understanding of like where certain people are in life, where a lot of people come from. So like a lot of times people have very valid originating reasons for why they don't do certain things. That isn't that doesn't mean you excuse them for said behavior though. I'll just put that out there because I've done that. So you don't want to do that. Like for example, if you're talking to somebody and they're not responding or putting the same effort, their lack of effort does not mean you put in more effort. No, it's not. That's not what it's like equating to at all. It's not the same thing. So if they're not putting in more effort, you should just kind of match them at that same level and just pull back essentially. Now, when it's something that you more care about, and you're probably in an actual relationship with them instead, then it's like that's where you could kind of work out the whole 70-30, 80-20 kind of aspect. But even in that, lack of balance should not last that long either. Like, let's say they are going through a really hard point in life, and maybe you do have to make up for their loss of percentages, right? If it's usually 50-50, and because of a recent occurrence, they can only put in 30, right? Then in the meantime, you could add the extra 20. But even then, that should only last you so long, right? That's not something that you should just let kind of like play out and let yourself get taken advantage of to that degree, because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to keep putting out more than what the other person's putting out, right? You don't want to put yourself in a position where you think you're doing the right thing and you are doing the right thing by being the partner that they need, and a lot of people wouldn't usually put out those same efforts. But at the same time, it's like when all you have to offer is yourself and you're continuously putting that out more than you're receiving, that's what you're gonna lose in the end. So if you don't feel like you have much to give, but still you find yourself continuously giving, just or it's just not the situation for you and not where you should be. And I mean, I do believe, obviously, on like the spiritual level, and just like kind of how, like you get what you get, right? Or you get what you give, of course. So definitely down the road, for those same efforts that you put in, you're bound to receive relatively like the same thing in return. But even then, it's like sometimes it's not worth it. Or at that specific given time, you're just pouring out too much than you really should be. And even if that means in the long run you're gonna get a huge reward, burnout exists. Maybe you might burn yourself out and just completely lose interest in everything before you even get to that reward. Um, you just don't use, and on top of that, it's like everything gets to a point. That's kind of my main like kind of motto recently. Is like I'm like a very persistent person. Obviously, the uploads don't really show that. I'll be honest, like I don't upload as much as I should. I should be more consistent with that. But on like day to day life, I'm a very diligent person, and what I believe, if there's something I really care about or someone I really care about, I'm gonna try to push past everything possible to make that situation or whatever work. But even then, it's like I know like we're all human. We're not robots. We can't just do the same shit over and over and expect not to feel the penalties for it. So it's just like when things get tough, when things get, I don't know, just kind of not they work anymore, and you just find yourself in the position where you just can't do it anymore. You just can't do it. It doesn't mean you have to like keep going for it. It's like if you just find yourself in a position where it's like this is too much, then that's it. It's too much for you. Don't keep going. Doesn't matter what it is. Now, sometimes we do have to just suck up to reality and be like if it's a job, for example, like sometimes you can't always be like, oh, I can't work this job. I gotta leave. Sometimes you still just have to push through, make accommodations. But if you genuinely believe there's something out there that's better for you, just go for it. You don't want to be stuck in a position um, and stuck with somebody or something just because you feel like you've invested so much into it, right? Um, I'm gonna make a whole other video about that actually, so I'm not gonna dive too much into that topic. But yeah, overall, just because you've poured a lot of resources, money, time into something or somebody, does not mean you have to see all of those resources hit rock bottom and go negative. If you could pull out at least something still while you still have it, do that, right? If you had $500 and you were planning on spending it all on something, and you spent the first 50, and the first 50 didn't go that well, that doesn't mean you have to do the same exact thing with the next $450. You just keep that, move on, take the $50 loss. The $50 loss is gonna be a lot better than losing all 500, right? If you had a week off of work or something like that, a week to spend doing whatever, and the first day you want to spend it, I don't know, hanging out with a group of friends or something like that, and the hangout didn't really go as planned. You haven't seen these people in a while. It wasn't what you were expecting, kind of thing. You don't have to spend the next 6 days with that same group of people. If you want to do something else that just means something more to you, or you feel like it's a better use of your time, go do that. You see what I'm getting at here? Just like essentially, it's like just because you already started doing something wrong, does not mean you have to keep going down that path, right? Because like if you want to look at it in like a real life aspect, it's like if I take this Gatorade bottle right now, spill it on myself. Just because I spilled it one time does not mean I have to keep pouring it all over me and just do that. No, I don't have to do that. I don't. I can just take the one spill loss, suck it up, right? Um, I dropped this microphone. It stops working for maybe 2 minutes, and those 2 minutes can make me think, oh, this shit is not gonna work ever again. That does not mean I start smashing it to bits and pieces because of one minor, very short, problematic occurrence. You don't want to take it a mile. That's it. Just don't take it a mile that does not have to be taken. But essentially, back to the story time. Yes. So I was with this one person, and I mean everything was smooth, but add to that, I feel like it was as smooth for as long as I allowed it to be, and not saying that in like I cause any problems or any of that. I'm very accountable for what I do. For example, I was with this one girl, and it just wasn't what it should have been. Both of our parts, and I can admit there were times where she's definitely kind of got me out of character, but like that's still me at the end of the day. I still have control, so I'm not gonna act like, oh, like this girl pulled me out of who I am. No, I'm still in control of who I am. So if what I did was completely on me, that has nothing to do with her. So in our relationship, as toxic as it was, I can definitely play like own up to my part where I went wrong. And honestly, like nowadays, like for all those partners I already had and don't share the same world with them anymore, unfortunately, I still wish the best for them. I still hope that she found somebody much better than I, like me, offer more than I could have offered, et cetera, that kind of thing. Like I'm not gonna wish bad on her at all. Um, that just goes for all of them. But yeah, most recently it's like yeah. So the lady I was with, it's just like there were things that should have been a lot more problematic than what I probably gave them credit for. Kind of like let everything have like a kind of watered down sense to it, in terms of just kind of letting it slide, or just kind of like believing that it's not as bad as as it really is. For example, or there were a lot of instances where I waited for them, and I'm not talking about a day, 2 days, a week. No, no. Like I said, naive, dumb, whatever you want to call it. I waited very long periods of time for them, months even, continuous months. Just no contact kind of thing, and just like we were still together though. And I mean, life goes on, right? So, but what that means is to the average person, you go X amount of time without speaking to this person, you're gonna move on. I've already heard that from a lot of people that brought it up too. Like, oh yeah, if that was me, I would assume we're broken up. Blah blah. I'm gone. I'm out of there. Me personally, it's just like that's not how I kind of rolled. Especially because like for some times there were reasonings as to why she couldn't talk. Like I said, we're also in high school, so sometimes she didn't have her phone or got it taken. So honestly, it's like a lot of those instances I let it slide, or maybe she might pop out the blue using like another device to text me. So truthfully, it's like I didn't really see the problem all too much occasionally. But yeah, to the average person, they would leave, and honestly, I don't blame them. And it's kind of ironic because like the relationship that I was coming out of prior, I would continuously tell myself like, oh, like I'm not gonna have the same amount of patience with nobody else because me and her were on and off, very on and off. Um, so yeah, honestly, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna have the same amount of patience with, like anybody else. Like that was just way too much. No. And then here I am waiting with, here I am with somebody waiting months and like on and repeatedly like different on different instances. Like you could even say maybe even like 30 to 40% of our relationship was strictly me waiting for her. That's not even crazy to say. I kid you not. Kid you not. Like God probably knows how long I waited for her in total. And yes, that's ridiculous. And even on one of those occasions, it was more ridiculous because she actually made me wait deliberately. I found out through her cousin that like essentially like she had her phone on her the whole time. She just decided not to text me. That right there should have been like done and done. And the thing is, like, my main thing is like the only reasons why I would break up with somebody beforehand would just be for like cheating or like some kind of abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, doesn't matter. Those are the two like deciding factors of like, nope, we're done. I don't care what you could say, what you could do to try to reel me back in. This is wraps. But honestly, like now I've gotten older, there's like more things that play into that. Whether it's the disrespect, whether it's like the just lack of this, lack of that. It's like there's more things that should really decide whether or not I decide to like stay with somebody. Because usually I would just always go based on potential. But now that I've like met a lot more people, I realize like it isn't about that. Because people are very aware of what they do. People are very aware of what they can accomplish. But if they only see themselves or allow themselves to stay in such a dormant position and only achieve so much, then that's all they're gonna do. You can 100% go based off potential of somebody, but only if you really see it getting there. Everything has potential, right? This has potential to reach 1 million people, but if I'm not actively trying to get there, it's not going to get there. I can't just imagine one day I just wake up and then all of a sudden I have all these subscribers. Like I still have to work for that. So the same way it's like you can see somebody with a lot of potential, they still have to work up to that vision and that character that you see them as. But if you don't see the actual effort being put in, then just you could bet yourself you're not going to get there anytime soon. Another thing is a lot of people like to talk more than they actually like to work for it. So don't get me wrong, I've mentioned this to myself a bunch of times, like, oh, I'm gonna record a video, oh, I want to record a video, blah blah blah. Here I am taking X amount of time to actually get up to do that, right? Or like recently, like I said, I got more stuff coming in. I'm on a launch right now. I was gonna wait for like an actual desk chair to come in or like some more stuff to put around our room, stuff like that. Um, but like that would just ultimately have me wasting time, you could say. When in actuality, I could just get up and do it right now. Who cares? Press record, move on, kind of thing. And there was a point in time where she would do that as well, which I'm gonna get into shortly. Just all in all, it is very like unfortunate situation, but not too unfortunate either, because maybe for the both of us, it kind of worked. It probably good that it worked out the way it did. But now, just like now that I look back on it, because it's still like a recent occurrence, I'm just like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I probably should just let. I don't know, I'm like let in their relationship, you could say, a lot sooner, instead of thinking like, oh yeah, like nah, me being who I am, have my character, I'm just gonna keep seeing it through. Like I said, no matter how harsh the situation can be, no matter how bad times are, I like to see things through. I like to still play my part. I like to just push through it because I feel like as long. But here's the key part: you can work through that, do whatever you want, as long as either you or you and whoever's involved wants that as just as badly. For example, if you want to achieve something by yourself, you could do that, but you have to want it. You have to be really passionate about it, really go for that. And same thing when it comes to two people. Only thing is, you can't promise yourself that they want it as badly as you do. So it's like, as much as I would want to work towards anything and everything, it's just like they have to be on the same wavelength. Otherwise, we're not gonna get there. And their problem is a lot of people find themselves on different pages. So by the time it's like you're ready to work for it, they're not, and then vice versa. And that's happened on like two accounts, but mainly on this one, it's happened. Like I said, everything gets to a point. So there were points in time where it's like I really wanted to communicate and really wanted things to work, and I was very patient with them to just kind of like wait until they're ready for the same thing. And just it just took way too much. It just took way too long. Took way too much energy. Um, there were literal times I called out of work to stay up late and try to talk to them or spend more time with them. And just overall, it's like that investment was not worth it because those nights just weren't spent as productive as they should have been. Those following days weren't spent with as much rekindling and working through problems as they should have been. Like all that stuff really. And then by the time they came wanting to talk, I just didn't want to talk to them. It's like I've already tried. It's not even about talking, it's about you actually doing the things that we already discussed. There's no need to exchange any more words. You have to actually put it into action. So you could try to talk to me now as much as you want to, but it's like that's not what's required anymore. Right? The talking is, we're way past that part. You should just be doing it right now. And yeah, it's just like another thing too is like resentment really does build up whether you want to or not. Like resentment and what's the other thing? I don't know, but we'll stick to resentment for now. Resentment is really like a cancer that you have to just like catch very early on, because like whether or not you want it to grow, it's going to grow, but you have to put a pin in it as soon as possible. Whereas like they do something, like for example, like the way resentment probably builds up for me is like you do something that was very just like maybe it was disrespectful, it just wasn't the right thing to do, whatever the case may be. And honestly, it took more strength than it should have been or should have, whatever. It took a lot more strength for me to forgive you for that action, right? When honestly, you probably weren't even deserving of forgiveness in that point in time. But it took a lot out of me to forgive you for that. And even though I did forgive you for that, in the back of my head, it's always going to be there, right? But that's when you have to really catch it early on and stop it early on. So, like, let's say for example, you only resent this person 4%, but if that keeps building up, if they keep doing things that really force you to just be like, damn, like I have to forgive them for that. I have to keep being with this person for this, or I have to keep being with this person while they did this, or whatever the case may be. It's going to get worse, and at some point, it's like whether or not you want to acknowledge it or not, you might not have the same exact level of feelings for them as you once had, right? So, like for example, if they do you wrong, it's like, but you forgive them for it, you still want to stay with them for it. You know deep down they're never gonna get that same genuine person again, because you don't know if you can really push yourself to be that person, knowing that with that person, they still decide to do A, B, C, D, right? And the same thing with like trust. Like trust plays a role into that too. I say this all the time. It's like if I trust you 100% and you do something foul, it's like I could trust you 100% again. Like you could still cap out your trust, but it's never gonna be 100%. Like if I trust you at 100%, you do something that messes that trust up, you lost it. The most I could trust you is probably like 90. Right, so you can have my full trust, but it's never gonna be my full trust. You know what I mean? Um, it's just like that's just not something that you really just get back like that. Like you just at the end of the day, you still did what you did, and who's to say you can't do that again? You might have worked for that trust again, but like I said, there's always gonna be that slight chance that you can still do that, because you did that. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. So yeah, a lot of time just spending waiting for her, dealing with certain BS situations. Honestly, like I said, I'm very accountable. But what I could tell you guys, no sugarcoating, no BS, is like there were hardly any situations where I actually played a negative role, like at all. There's not one situation that came up because of some shit that I did. I'm just gonna be blatantly honest with you. Cause there are a lot of things I can own up for, 100%. There was this girl I dated, Ariana, a while ago. If she sees this video, I'm promise you, I hope she's doing all well. But when we had our situation in a relationship all those years ago, there were a lot of things I did that we both did that just weren't right, and I could take complete ownership for that. And I can honestly recall a few things that I did where it's just like shit, I should never do that, right? Um, Kind of harder to say now, like a few other people, either because like it was a long time ago, or I just honestly cannot remember it. Um, But yeah, like she's definitely someone where it's like I would like to have a conversation with her because just to end off on like good terms, because that was just not something that I feel like either one of us should have had to endure at that time period. And I like I said, I just want to apologize for my piece more than anything. So like I said, she sees this. I humbly apologize, truthfully, sincerely, and yeah, just hope you're doing well. But as for this recent relationship, it's like yeah, I just didn't really like if you ask me, if you ask me, I didn't play any negative roles into that at all. We definitely bashed heads. Like I said, it wasn't me. It wasn't us bashing heads because something I was starting or something that was going on my behalf. Truthfully, most of the times it was some shit that was just going on in her life, where it's just like I'm getting pulled into it. And for the most part, it's like I don't mind that. The way I look at it is like with relationships, is like whatever luck you come in with whatever problem that you have, like that becomes our problems. However, if you're creating problems out of thin air, that's where you're gonna lose me. You know, a lot of those problems were just simply stuff that could have easily been avoided or just never had to come into fruition at all. Um, yeah, and she definitely tried to like make problem like once again like she was trying to make problems on my behalf out of things that like just weren't really relevant or just weren't problematic at all. You could say. Or at one point I got accused of cheating. I promise you, there's not 1 ounce of cheating in my body. Like I know how wrong that is. I've been cheated on a good amount of times. Um, and honestly, I just don't see the point in it. It's like you literally gain nothing from cheating at all. If anything, you lose more than anything. Or you're losing your character, you're losing your integrity. You're gonna get labeled as a cheater. Stuff like that. It's just like you don't gain anything by cheating. If you feel like you want to not be with your partner anymore, just leave them. Simply just tell them the truth. Like, oh, I want to pursue other people, or I feel like, oh, this is not gonna work out for me. I just can't do it with you anymore. I'd rather be with this person instead. It's still gonna come off a little messed up, yes, but at least you're not cheating on them and whatever, you know. Um, it's like putting your 2 weeks in. It's like putting your 2 weeks in compared to like just walking out, right? Even if they're both for a job, right? It's like you're better off like letting like making your current job weird that you're gonna be leaving for a different position, rather than just like taking off on them. So it's kind of messed up of you to just leave out on them. Then again, I did that, so not cheap, but I definitely walked out of jobs. I'm just saying. Anyway, so yeah, so there were a lot of things that just weren't what they were or should have been. And I would love to go into their specifics too much, but at the same time, it's like this is still gonna be put out there on public, and I don't really want to put just her business out there too much. It's not that deep for the story, anyways. Um, but yeah, essentially, most recently, what kind of been eating me up about it because she was moved in, right here, all that stuff. She was here for like a good amount of time. And the reasoning for why she was here is why I gave her some leniency for a while. But honestly, at some point, it just got to a point because it's like you're not doing anything. Like, truthfully, not doing anything. I'm going to work. Not even make that much. I'm like fucking part time, basic minimum wage, getting paid every 2 weeks, right? So it's like there's only so much I can do with my income. But at the same time, it's like she also had a job that she just actively not going to, which is kind of like, you know what I mean? It's like, why? How does that make sense? Plus, it's a very lenient job. Because you said that about any of your job, it's like, what do you mean she's not going to it, but she's still employed? You're fired. No, the job is very lenient. She does not have to be there all the time. They really helped her out with so much stuff, but it's like you're actively not gonna do that. What? Right? Or you're gonna talk about doing this, that, and third, but you're not gonna actually put that into action. What are we talking about? Um, but yeah, so it's just like there were a lot of things I feel like could have been done better on her part that just weren't taking effect, just were not happening. And I'm just like I said, everything just gets to a point. We definitely bashed Heads a good amount of times while she was here. But overall, just like what just upset me is just like you're just not doing anything. Like you're freeloading, and that's just what it is. You can't sugarcoat that. You're not paying for anything. You're not. I'm not saying she has to pay anything for me. I would like it. I would like that, but I'm not saying that you have to. Truth, I think that I prefer just like save up your money that you actually go out and work for, but you're not working. Like yeah, save your money or like I pay rent to my mom. She was supposed to do that too. She wasn't doing that. It's keeping it being. So it's like there's a lot of shit that you should have been doing that you weren't doing, and a lot of stuff I like gave her slack for, just shrugged it off. Honestly, especially like at times where she just wasn't even gonna be here anyways. Like she was asking him to go to work or go stay with her mom for a little bit. It's like okay, cool. I could just worry about me for a little bit, which is nice, a little bit refreshing, honestly. Because it is taxing. I have to worry about me and somebody else that isn't even contributing, honestly. So I'm just like, okay, cool, right? But then like my sister had brought something up to me that honestly just like irked me even more because on top of that she's a very secretive person. The same way I mentioned how like I would wait for her, but one of those times she deliberately made me wait and I had no idea. It's like why are you doing stuff like that, right? Or why are you doing weird stuff or just like I said secretive stuff? There's no motive for it, or there's no real motive for it. I'm not feeling you to do anything, right? Never did wrong by this lady as far as I'm aware, right? So my sister comes to me about something. She was like, "Oh, she did this, and that, third, whatever." Um, I'm just like, you know what? I don't have the patience for that. Like I just don't. If that's the route that you want to take, you take that. You're not gonna keep sitting. You're not gonna keep being here and make me look like a fool, pretty much. Um, so I just end things with her and whatnot. And I feel like another thing too. I feel like the way that like things were in it for how subtle it was is kind of like weird to me. You could say because it kind of makes me believe that she was probably doing even more than I knew about. Because if you ask me, it's like if you break up with somebody just like out the blue, and this person is doing everything right beside you, right, or you claim to really cherish this person, really care about this person, you would kind of expect them to just like try, right, or like some reaction to it. You know what I mean? Like for example, if you're yelling at somebody, you're up in somebody's face, right? Just about whether or not if you're valid for it or not, the fact that you're up in their face, you would expect some kind of reaction for it. Like for me, like I'm breaking up with you, I'm 100% valid for it, but I'm still breaking up with you, right? That should rub you the wrong way a little bit. So it's just like think about it like this, yeah. So it's like you're in somebody's face, yelling at them. Not that I was doing that. I'm just like saying like an example. You're in somebody's face, yelling at them, right? No matter how many points are valid, you're still in their face. Now, if you would kind of expect them to get back at you for that, right? Like a normal person for the most part, because even though I'm hearing you, you're not gonna disrespect me and just yell at me, right? But at the same time, it's like let's say instead of doing that, they just said okay and walked away, right? Now there's two things you can expect when they do something like that. If they just say okay and get up and leave, either A, right? Either A, they heard you and they're actually gonna reflect on it, which is not that likely, honestly. But they heard you and they're gonna reflect on it. Um, if they're gonna be so subtle about it, right? Like they understand everything you said is true, and you're correct for it, and they just don't want to argue with you, right? Or secondly, I don't know, let's say this was a very bad altercation, you think they might come back and do something, right? For how subtle they are, or essentially you might think they had something planned all along, right? So that's kind of like how I'm in this situation. I'm thinking like, for how subtle the whole breakup was after I literally moved you in after I did all this stuff for her, like blah blah blah, right? I'm just like, either she understands like she's wrong, and there's just no point in like kind of fighting for that. When there is though, we were together for like 3+ years and we've been through a bunch of stuff, so it's like for you to be as subtle is still kind of strange. Regardless, if you want to take ownership for what I said, or B, it's like you must have been doing something the whole entire time. Because it's like, how can you just be so normal about that? You know, it's like yeah, if someone's in my face, blah blah blah, and I'm already knowing like I don't care what you're talking about, because I'm gonna come back in here and potentially do something to you, right? I'm gonna be so chill about that. It's like, who cares, right? So I'm just thinking like the same thing here. I'm just like, I was like, for you to be as so like composed, right? It's like you must have been doing something. Now that's not guaranteed, and honestly, I don't really care about that. It's not really that important, but it's just like still very much weird. All I know is if it was me, if I'm with somebody and they're doing all this stuff for me, and then out the blue, not really out the blue, but like yeah, just like they just said they want to end things, right? Um, I would definitely work for that. You know what I mean? Like even if the reasoning is valid, even if it was because of something I was doing wrong that I should have fixed a while ago, it's like I'm still gonna want to fight for that. Because she's like, what do you mean you want to break up? Right? But honestly, it's like I don't really care. She can go on about her life. I'm going about my life. Another thing too is like, to give more context, I literally worked like a full 2 weeks straight, um, full 2 weeks straight to make a good amount of money. Right? Of course. I feel like there's just so many things I'm behind on life, whatever, and I need to get a car. Right? So after 2 weeks of just pure working, I was able to buy a car. The reason that rubs me so wrong is because, mind you, she was here, actively here for like 6 months or so, right? And we've been together for like 3 years. So you're telling me nowhere in those 3 years, nowhere in those 6 months of actually being in the same vicinity, right? We couldn't. That's not a milestone we could have achieved together. That's kind of like that's all you know. That's literally the closure that I can take away from it, because like that kind of shows me that you were low-key holding me back. If if something I really want to achieve, I was able to take care of by myself within 2 weeks, when we could have both did that with double income, but we couldn't somehow do that within 6 months, because either I'm the one taking care of all the billing stuff, or I'm spending a bunch of stuff on her that I should have to spend on her. Just like whatever the case may be, it's just like priorities are completely messed up because only one of us actually wants to go for something. So yeah, that's kind of story time. That was very recently. Then I was at this tin salon for a good amount of time. It was cool, but I'm not gonna lie. Manager's a bitch. I don't care if she sees this video now. She's a weirdo. Um, this what it is. Um, I could just tell because she has one of those characters where it's like she's gonna try to play cool with you, and then she's gonna switch it up immediately after she feels she has like enough of your trust, or whatever. That's like I said, that's a whole nother story, but I mean this is story time, so I might as well throw it in here. Um, so I left that because she was very much irritating me. The job itself, perfectly fine. All those customers, for those out there or whatever, um, definitely enjoyed seeing a lot of them. Some of you guys were a little bit entitled and very impatient, but for the most part, I had no problem being there a lot of time. Same thing with my coworkers, right? They were pretty much chill. They were cool. Um, District manager as well. She wasn't that bad. I didn't like. A lot of people didn't like her, honestly, but I personally didn't mind her at all. She was a nice person, just doing her job, right? But the newest manager herself, not somebody I was that fond of, because it's like, you're 35 trying to act 17, right? On top of that, it's like I said, like once you got enough people cool with you, you're just gonna be very much annoying, and nobody wants to deal with that, quite frankly. And like the main situation that very much irritated me is because like it's a tan salon, but it's a sales job, right? So we still have to sell stuff, lotions, memberships, all that. I understand that, and mind you, I was actively doing that, right? Me and her were basically equivalent in how much stuff that we sold. And I say me and her because like we had other coworkers, but those other coworkers had to be at other locations for like staffing reasons, right? So honestly, me and her are the main ones that's actually keeping the sales go up. And you would think, okay, that's good. Mind you, I'm a regular beauty consultant. She's an actual manager. So me being on the same like level as you is pretty neat, wouldn't you say? Nonetheless, though, she's an overachiever to the third degree, right? So essentially, it's like I guess whatever I was doing for her wasn't not enough, and she's actively calling the store, annoying as shit, talking about some what's the daily sales at. Mind you, I have an active job to do. I got customers to take care of. I got stuff to clean. I don't care about running to the front of the store to pick up the phone call because you're at home, not enjoying your day, but rather thinking about, how can I be work orientated when I shouldn't be. So I go pick up the phone, blah blah. She's in my ear, unsatisfied, please as shit, offering no kind of encouragement or nothing. And yeah, it's just like that's just I don't care for energy. Like mind you, it's a regular job. Like this is not something crazy. You were not gonna get fired if you don't meet your goal. Mind you, we're doing pretty well, I would say. So it's like, I don't really understand what the problem was, but point being, the difference is here is like my friend who used to manage here, I would be texting her most of the time because she would actually help me with like a lot of stuff that was supposed to like take place. Cause my training was buns, like half the stuff I didn't even learn there in just like months of just watching people because they didn't really have a good training system. But essentially, it's like when I needed something like genuine, like information or whatever assistance, she was here. She knew what she was talking about. Whereas you got this lady who was just complaining the whole time. For example, it's like she asked what the daily sales are, right? If it's not something that she wants to hear, she's just gonna be like, "Oh, pitch, 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 keep pitching." What am I doing? I've been pitching. People are coming here with the same lotions and the highest memberships. I've been pitching. You know what I mean? Um, so like, what more do you want? And on top of that, it's like pitch what? Because all I know how to pitch right now is lotions. But tell me like what else I could pitch to possibly get more sales out the door. You know what I mean? And my friend, she's telling me it's like, okay, if people have lotions, you could just pitch like facial lotions, because that's a different kind of, some people only have like lotions for the body, which they use for their face, but there are specifically face lotions, or you could pitch the tan extenders, stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, that makes more sense, right? I haven't really been doing that too well. Just been pitching like the main lotion bottles, because that's like 80% of our product, right? Um, so I'm just like, I appreciate that. Meanwhile, my actual manager's on the phone talking about something. Oh, that's fucking terrible. That's fucking terrible. That's like mind you, like repeating that repeatedly, over and over. So it's like, yeah, now it's enough like dealing with. So I left that. And then yeah, I worked at FedEx for a little bit, but FedEx has pretty bad work conditions as well. Might I add, but whatever. Um, and yeah, here I am. So that's kind of like the story time, like everything's like get up to date. I think the last video I recorded was like in September 2025, I think. So it's been a while. That's even if that's correct, but it's definitely been a while. So that's like before I even got into like making other videos, like my usual content. Like I have some more, like I said, I have some more stuff to bring up, like um, that whole investing thing I was talking about, like knowing when to pull your funds out, essentially, or take your efforts back, right? Despite if you took the loss already, just knowing when to reel everything back in, right? Talk about that. Talk about like some dilemmas that people experience. So like the whole too good to be true dilemma. I've heard that so many times. Whether or not it's people actually being as serious or not, I don't know. But people say that like people believe something's too good to be true, so they just decide not to go for it. When in actuality, it probably is the real thing, right? But I mean, you can't really blame them, right? If I go check my phone right now and it says someone's selling a Lamborghini for $5, that's way too good to be true, but it could be true. Um, then someone else recommended like well, I was like talking about like other dilemmas. She recommended like avoidance, right? So she was kind of just like filling me on that. Which is something else I've also seen a good amount of people like go through is just avoiding things because they don't like they expect to be disappointed at the end or something like that. So before they even get there, they just kind of don't even let it like take effect or take place, whatever. Um, a cage fling as well, based on like the things I was just saying, right? Because honestly, I felt completely trapped in that relationship as well as like the job situation. So definitely like talk about like a cage fling, and yeah, I got to touch up on a lot of stuff, no doubt, and it's kind of like re-familiarize myself with like a lot of recording stuff because honestly, I didn't forget like a bunch of like whatever, but that's on me. So I'm just gonna try to get back into everything, try to record as much as possible. Honestly, I might just record a whole other video. I just yapped here with no order for about 40 minutes. So yeah, I'm not gonna go edit that probably tomorrow. But I'm definitely kind of like try to stay on topic of everything and see I'm like yeah, stay on top of everything and just do that. But I appreciate you guys listening, of course, as always. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.